Hey everyone, welcome back to some new r/malicious compliance stories. I hope you had a great day. In today's episode, we go over some stories where companies really need to start to look over their policies. So sit back, relax, and enjoy the video. The first story is called "You Have to Do As We Say." I was working as a contractor for a big firm where clients go to for specific services, and then we are assigned to that company on a subcontractor basis. The firm charges the client an arm, a leg, and a kidney or two, while paying us a tiny percentage of the sales. Business is business, and I can't complain about that. When it's time to renew the contract with the client, every 3 months we are supposed to write a review about what's going on and what should be done in the next term. I worked on a project for 2 months, and I had a very good relationship with the employees and their CEO, and everything was peachy. Until my company wanted the client to pay double for additional services. They wanted me to write a bogus review stating that their current situation was absolutely bad and that they should go for the new and improved plan. Moreover, I was supposed to do it by 7 p.m., 1.5 hours away, and it was my day off. I was in the middle of a trip with friends, and I said, "No, can't do that," and hung up. That was on a Friday. I didn't check my emails until Monday morning. Guess who woke up to 17 emails from the company and 2 from my client? I checked the client's emails first, and the CEO had personally emailed me asking what was going on. He wanted to know why my company was pressuring them to sign a new contract when the old one was still active. I didn't say anything and told him that I would check it out and get back to him. Not a minute passed before I got a call from my team leader. "Why didn't you write the report on Friday?" "On my day off?" "You should be available whenever we want you to do something." "What if I was sick or in the hospital? What would you have done then?" "But you are not, and we expect you to do as we say, because you are bound by the employee rulebook. As you may know, I am not one of your employees, but a contractor. We have specific dates and times we work, and you can't just call me on a day off and ask me to work out of the blue. That would be against my contract with your company. By the way, since the client's current contract is still active for a month, the review has to be written after the contract ends, not before. It's even written in the contract you signed off. I don't care about semantics. Write a review by the end of the day. I'm not going to BS the review. You have to do as we say, or else you're fired. Malicious compliance time." He said I had to write the BS review, but didn't mention anything about the real review. So I wrote the real review, and under that I wrote the review Mr. X asked me to write, and wrote the BS review. I sent it to the client and CC'd the team lead, all the other contractors, the executives, and anyone who had the faintest idea about the project. I wish I was there to see their faces when they received the email. The best part? They tried to fire me, but couldn't due to the terms of the contract. So I had no work, but full pay for 4 months. My PC was locked, so I went to the office every day, brushed up my resume, and started sending emails all day while having free coffee and tea. The client I was working for hired me the next week as a freelance consultant. So I was getting double the income, though for 4 months, and stopped going to the company altogether. The CEO was a powerful guy, and he immediately sent an email to all the businesses he knew, and no one renewed their contract. This resulted in a net loss of a couple million a year per company. I heard 1 or 2 companies took them to court for falsifying reports, but not sure what happened to them. Well, that sounds like a bad and hopefully illegal business tactic. I hope they either learn from it or the company closed down. And all just because of the way this team lead thought he could talk to OP. I mean, "You have to do what we say" is quite literally an invitation to make it as bad for the company as possible. What do you think? Let me know in the comments. The next story is called "HR Lady Needs to Learn How to Behave." One summer during college, I worked at a telemarketing agency. This was back when telemarketing was a semi-respectable job. I sold lots of different products, from long-distance phone plans to retirement annuities via a patriotic credit card company. Anyway, being a semi-respectable firm, our call center had a dress code, nothing out of the ordinary really. Men had to wear button-up shirts with collars, a tie, dress pants, and dress shoes. Women had more leeway. Pretty much the only restrictions were no open-toe shoes, and dresses had to be below the knee. Violating the dress code was punishable by being sent home for your shift. One day, I had a laundry emergency. The clothes dryer had broken, and all of my work shirts were still wet when I went to retrieve them. The only shirt I had left that were even close to dress code were shirts with a narrow collar, that is to say, almost no collar. As such, you don't wear a tie with this type of shirt. I decided to roll the dice. I suited up and threw on a blazer to help camouflage my dress code violation. Once I got to work, I went straight to my cube and worked my shift with no problems. This is great. I had just doubled my work wardrobe. So I would wear one of my Nehru shirts once a week or so. I didn't want to push my luck. During the same time, I had noticed some of the women blatantly violating the dress code. Way too short dresses, sweatpants, flip-flops and such. No one ever caught them out on it. I figured the dress code had been relaxed and I just didn't get the memo. I continued to follow the dress code with the exception of my occasional Nehru shirts. This went on for several weeks until one day my manager called me into her office and I figured the jig is up. Sure enough, she has called me in to reprimand me for not wearing a tie. The HR manager is there as well. I tried to explain that you don't wear a tie with this type of shirt. The HR manager replied, "That's a good point. That's 2 violations." I got a write-up, but got to finish my shift since it was almost over anyway. Cue the malicious compliance. It was Friday, so I went home and stewed about the encounter, and I hatched a plan. Saturday morning, I went to the local thrift store and bought some of the ugliest ties and button-up collared shirts I could find. One particularly eye-scorching tie I found was knitted, bright orange with horizontal teal stripes. The shirts were mainly pastel colors, but I also found a few gems that included a pink, green and yellow plaid, a red and neon green Hawaiian shirt, and a red, white and blue vertical striped shirt, all buttoned up with colors. I paid less than $10 for 10 shirts and 15 ties. To be fair, most of the items were not too bad on their own. However, when I went back to work, I made no effort to color coordinate. The result was a mix-mash of clashing colors and patterns that should have come with a warning may cause seizures label. I went to work the full week without acknowledging my outlandish attire. Why would I? I was following the dress code to the letter. By Wednesday of the following week, management had had enough. Again, I was called into the manager's office. Again, the HR manager was also there, but there was a new guy. Turns out he was an executive from the patriotic credit card company. The manager starts with, "We have had some complaints about your attire." I looked confused. "It's a collared shirt," I replied, as I patted my tie, as if to make sure it was still there. "Oh, it's not that. Your look is just, well, it's jarring." I don't follow. I dragged this out for about 2 minutes before the HR lady had had enough and just full-faced screamed at me. "Don't think I don't know what you're trying to pull, you little jerk with your ugly clothes." Such language, and that from an HR person. The executive guy was visibly taken aback. For my part, I just started crying, huge crocodile tears. "You think my clothes are ugly?" At this point, everyone in the room is visibly uncomfortable as I continue to ugly cry in the office. The manager attempted to defuse the situation. "What we're trying to say is, it's just unprofessional." I snapped up and screamed. "She didn't say unprofessional, she said ugly." I jabbed my finger at her. I was loud enough that I'm sure they heard me on the call floor. I calmed down after a minute. I asked, still sobbing, what exactly is wrong with the way I'm dressed? "Well, the colors," she started. I interrupted. "What colors am I not allowed to wear?" I caught an amused smirk from the executive guy. She stammered. "Because there's no mention of prohibited colors in the dress code," I interrupted again. "I don't think this is working out. You are fired." I stood up and collected myself. "You will be hearing from my attorney," I said as I left the room. My attorney is my cousin, but they didn't need to know that. So yeah, I got fired, but it was a win in my book. I made them tell me my clothes were ugly. I also found out afterwards that not only did the company lose the patriotic credit card company annuity account, but also the HR manager was fired. She was asked to resign, and my manager was sent back to corporate. I would like to think I was the cause of that. That is a great way to get back at them. That HR lady really shouldn't be in such a position if she acts like that in front of a customer. The third story is called "This New Policy Has a Major Flaw." Back in the early 2000s, I worked at a crappy call center that had a pretty straightforward attendance policy. If you called in sick for the day, you got an attendance point. If you were 15 or more minutes late for your shift, you got a half point. Additionally, absences over consecutive days with a doctor's note were worth 1 point. If you had more than 6 points in a 6-month period, they let you go. A few years later, we got a notification that the policy had not changed. If you had more than 3 points in the calendar year, you were terminated. Also, there were no more half points for being late. If you didn't sign into your phone within 5 minutes of your scheduled shift, it was considered a full attendance point, even if you worked the full shift. The result, people would show up to work late because of traffic or whatever and realize they were going to be penalized the same as if they hadn't shown up. So they would then call the sick line and leave. I had a coworker who was 15 minutes late because of a traffic accident on his commute. His supervisor told him he couldn't grant an exception while tattooing about not being better prepared for something that was beyond his control. So the coworker, without breaking eye contact with the supervisor, called the sick line from his desk phone, saying he was going to be absent for the day, and then left. I had a hard time not laughing while I watched the whole thing. Pretty soon turnover, which was already high for a call center, went through the roof, to the point where they were having difficulty keeping minimum staffing needed for their contracts. 6 months later, they rolled the policy back without explanation. Why would they do anything else than call the sick line? They get reprimanded whatever they do. That should be clear even to the management. The next story is called "Good Customer Service." In the summer of 2019, my brother was getting married. And of course, I left dress shopping for the last minute. So I bought a dress without trying it on, as I was on my lunch break and there was a sale and a lot of people and queues to dressing rooms. I reasoned that the dress was a bit oversized, so it could not look bad. I was wrong, of course, as it did not look oversized but just big and ill-fitting. The store had a return policy where you could return any items for 30 days and get the cash back. Or, if the item was on sale, then you can not get the money back, but instead get a gift card so you can buy something else there. I went back to the store, got the gift card with an intention to just buy something else, but could not find anything I like or that fits. I went back again after a few weeks, but still had no luck, and I started to think that just getting my money back would be better. I asked the employee if I cannot just return the gift card for money, but no, not possible. So, while hopelessly wandering around the store, I suddenly came up with an idea and went to the same employee. I asked if I would buy something from the new collection for full price with a gift card, then can I return it and get my money back? He was a bit taken aback, but confirmed that yes, that is how it works. I asked him what the point of the policy is if you can bypass it this easy. He said no one has asked that before, but that employees themselves and their friends are doing it this way. So I took the dress that was right next to the counter. He asked me to wait for a few days before returning it so it would not look suspicious and checked me out. I came back to the store 2 days later when another employee was working, returned the dress and got my money back. Well, that is quality customer service. He helped her comply with the policy and she still got her money back. I like that. The last story is called "Stupid Metrics." I worked at a job that had sales goals and we worked from a pool of warm inbound leads, calling people inquiring about our services. The original lead of our department was a good guy, and as long as you hit or surpassed your sales numbers, then nothing else really mattered. At some point, he moved on to a better company and was replaced by a woman that used to run a call center. As such, she started creating strict metrics like the number of calls per day required and such. Despite me being one of our top salespeople, she didn't like that my number of calls was low every day. My logic was, if I am selling, then I'm on the phone. Many successful sales could take 30 to over 60 minutes, so on a good day I might made 8 to 25 calls, whereas they wanted 50 a day, minimum. My solution was to create a list of people I knew that worked during the day. I called their home phone numbers while they were out to pad my numbers and meet the 50 calls per day. I could crank out 50 calls in no time and then do whatever I wanted the rest of the day. The new boss was happy and I didn't care to be wasting my time on their dime. Everyone wins, I guess. Well, the company made less money since I stood slightly less. Bosses need to learn to measure the correct quality of work, otherwise you just get people wasting time to meet stupid metrics. At the end of the day, more sales or more profit should be the essential point of any business. But this manager seems to have forgotten about that. Thanks for watching. I hope you enjoyed the video. Have a great day. Bye bye.